All right, number one, chapter 2, verses 78, 79 shows again what you've been doing to the Bible, you're doing to your own Quran, and you fall under the condemnation of 378. You not only have the audacity to twist the scriptures, you have the audacity to twist the Quran. Anyone, I'm challenging here, let's do a debate on 275, 79, your proof text. Mano y mano, let's debate it. Go read the context. I've done an extensive study, and the Muslim commentators, it's talking about a particular group identified as Jews.
See, he can't address the logical point, right? He can't address the logical point. He has to go back to interpretation, like his particular interpretation of that verse. This is very weak, like in terms of any debate, like even if it weren't Sam, if I was using this kind of argumentation, you'll notice that I never hinge my arguments against any religion on my interpretation of their texts. I never do that. I never hinge the argument on an interpretation of a text, because people can differ on an interpretation of the text, and you have to be able to make a stronger argument than that against these different religions. And there are stronger arguments. So why don't I get to those stronger arguments and instead rely on one interpretation, which I can be accused of an incorrect interpretation, an uncharitable interpretation. So I, as a debater, know that this is a poor argument to make my whole argument hinge on a particular interpretation of a verse in like the Bible or in the Vedas, for example, or the Hebrew Bible, or the Talmud, You'll notice, like when I debate Jews, I don't just bring the Talmud and say, oh, look at what this verse says, because they'll just immediately respond. The Jewish debater will immediately respond that, no, you are misreading our text. So you can never do that. I bring the Talmud, and oh, look what Maimonides says, your greatest scholar of Jewish law. Oh, look what Joseph Caro says in Shulchan Aruch, with one of the most definitive books of law in the Jewish tradition. Look what he says. He confirms what I'm reading, he confirms it. Or I bring academics. Look what Reuven Firestone is saying about holy war in Judaism and about the different types of war. So I bring other authorities. I don't just say, this is the interpretation. This is what your book says, and I leave it at that. Because that's a very weak argument. It's a very weak way to debate. That's the only way that Sam debates. That's the only kind of material that he puts out. That's why he sucks. Sorry to have to put it so bluntly. He sucks as a debater. He sucks as an apologist. Jay is slightly better. Jay is like 1 degree better. Then maybe I put James White, for example, as better, right? James White is 1 step above, because he actually refers or is literate with some of the academic literature. Like, this is how we can grade these apologists on an objective standard. Sam is like on the bottom rung. He's like down there with a bunch of losers like David Wood, for example. Like, they're the bottom rung, but they're seen as like amazing. Oh, wow. You got him, got those Muslims, got the Abduls.
Who wrote the book with their own hands.
Ijaz is citing authorities that are third parties. He's not saying that the authorities are right in everything that they say, but when you're engaging in a debate where the other side doesn't accept your traditions or your interpretations of their traditions, then it's good to cite a third party. It's good to cite an independent source. What I present, what Ijaz presents, is all of these independent references regarding the Bible, regarding the Quran, regarding these manuscripts. What Sam presents is his interpretation of hadith. Do you see the difference, like in the strategy, the argumentation? And that's why his argumentation is so low quality. It's just his uncharitable reading of whatever hadith or narration that he can find, read as uncharitably as possible, out of context, without actually citing anything that contradicts what he just read. That is what his argumentation is based off of. That's what his entire apologetics are based off of. This is low quality, it's low IQ, and no one takes it seriously other than his own followers, part of his own church, right? Even Jay doesn't think that Sam is doing a good job on these points. And this is proven by the fact, or not proven, it's indicated by the fact. Oh, sorry, don't want to commit another fallacy, Jay, but it's indicated by the fact that Jay doesn't back up anything that Sam says. Jay doesn't point out, any of these points and hit whenever it, in the precious few minutes that he gets to open his mouth. So Sam is not citing any independent authority that we can all at least say, well, this has maybe some objectivity. If you just cite your own interpretation, that's not objective. If you cite your own tradition, like if me and Ijaz, we only cited things that are found within the Islamic scholarly tradition, then the other side can accuse us of, well, that's your own tradition. So obviously your own tradition thinks that it's preserved. Obviously your own scholars think that Islam is preserved, that the Quran is preserved. Obviously, show us something that is more unbiased, that might be objective, independent. That would be the first objection that the Christian side would make, or the atheist or whoever. So that's why me and Ijaz, we're citing all of these authorities, we're citing all of these academic works. What Sam does is he just, this hadith, according to my interpretation, checkmate. Oh, your Quran just proved the Bible. You see the difference in the level of argumentation, the level of the debate, because you guys are Muslim Skeptic subscribers, hopefully subscribe to Muslim Skeptic, but you're Muslim Skeptic watchers, you follow these debates. You need to start appreciating differences in debate, and so that you're a more informed consumer of debates, you're a more informed, intelligent person who can see a debate and evaluate it properly. Hopefully that's the benefit you get from watching this channel. And you should be able to point out immediately. You might feel like, yeah, Sam comes off as an idiot, but you might not be able to articulate exactly why. This is the why. Why is Sam such an idiot? Like, why is his level of argumentation so low? Because he's not citing actual independent sources outside of what he thinks and what he feels and his reading and his interpretation that he's just citing off the top of his head or reading or whatever. The audience doesn't know what he's reading or citing. The audience just has to take his word for it. Whereas it's just his interpretation at the end of the day. We can't dispute it. That's what you think. If we say, well, there's a different way to interpret, he says, oh, you're lying. So if we don't agree with your interpretation of whatever hadith that you cherry pick, then we're lying. Whereas if we say, oh, there was this manuscript within 100 years of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life, and it's preserved and radiocarbon dated, if we make a claim like that and it's false, then you can check it. You can check and verify and say, yeah, they're lying. There is no such manuscript. Right? That kind of accountability is at least possible, but you can't hold Sam accountable. You can't hold him accountable because everything is just based off of what he interprets, off of whatever hadith he comes across. You see the difference. That's a difference in level of debate and argumentation, and hopefully you appreciate that.